Another thing to remind everybody is that we are recording this for posterity, so that it will go up on YouTube with the other videos for our advisory committee meetings. So again, for your privacy, if you want to rename yourself or not show your video, although I think I messed up and turned off most people's video. Send me a chat if you want me to specifically to turn on your video. So all of this is to discourage people from entering the meeting and trying to disrupt it and take control over it. We're trying to make that balance between having it be interactive and having that contact, but we also don't want this Zoom bombing to occur to us, which would ruin it for everybody. So we are recording it. It will be uploaded to YouTube. You can shut off your video. You can mute your audio. You can rename yourself. We don't mind people being anonymous. That's certainly up to you, but we do want to prevent people from taking over the meeting. So with that, I'm going to try to find my list of things to talk about today and not put it on the video. There we go. Okay, so I am Paul Locke. I'm the Assistant Commissioner for the Wayside Cleanup Program. We also have Liz Callahan, who is the Division Director for Policy and Planning in the Wayside Cleanup Program. So we will be your co-hosts. And Liz has the powers that I do on controlling the meeting, except she can't read the chat. So we'll try to kind of balance things and pass things off one to the other. So we're going to talk a little bit about guidance that has come out recently. So I'm going to try to, we'll then share the screen of, let's see, that one. We'll do that. This is our MassDEP COVID-19 information resources. You can get to that from one of these banners on the MassDEP pages. So we are trying to put everything together in one location. And this will have drinking water programs, hazardous waste, et cetera, including wayside cleanup operations. And if you click on that, it will bring you to a page where you'll see, I have to make that larger for myself so I can read it. Fact sheets that are relevant, the links to the past video calls that we have here and the upcoming video call. And so the fact sheet we put out last week, we talked a little bit about that. Other guidance that has come up recently, EPA put out similar fact sheet, similar guidance on operations at federal Superfund sites, and that's also applicable to work at RCRA corrective action sites as well. So that's worth a read. There's also unrelated to COVID. ITRC just came out yesterday with a bunch of new PFAS guidance. So if you're looking for something to read and follow up on, I would highly recommend looking at that as well. The continuity of operations guidance that we put up last week. Where are we? Got that one. Share. Talks about how we are going to continue our operations here at DEP, stressing the kind of enforcement discretion that we plan on exercising through all of this, the focus on imminent hazards and time-critical work, and that balance between protecting ourselves and our workers and the people who live and work at sites, protecting them for COVID-19 while at the same time protecting them from exposures to oil and hazardous material at the site. So that's a balance of where we kind of draw that line of work that we expect to continue are immediate response actions dealing with time-critical situations, including imminent hazards. We certainly expect notifications to continue coming in, but any kind of more routine work, which we group under routine submittals, we expect that decisions will be made that it can be put off. And we were doing that on a case-by-case, site-by-site basis ourselves, where we identify work that we are doing that can be put off for another month, another 2 months, until this state of emergency ends. We are putting it off. And we do not expect the private sector, the PRPs and the LSPs, to push on solely to meet the requirements of the MCP and those deadlines. So that's where the enforcement discretion comes in. DEP will not be sending out notices of non-compliance for missed deadlines if you follow this policy. And part of it is we need to know that you're going to miss the deadlines or have missed the deadlines. And so we have forms. There have always been forms for that, and an explanation of kind of, here's the deadline that's missed, here's why we're missing the deadline. And what we also expect people to put some thought into is kind of what is the schedule going forward for doing that work and submitting it sometime in the future. And because we don't know when the end of the state of emergency is going to happen, we don't expect hard and fast dates in those schedules. What we do want to have people give some thought to, though, is once the state of emergency ends, kind of from that point on, kind of what's the expected time period to do this work and to get the submittals into DEP. So we're not expecting huge amounts of detail there, but we do want people to give some thought to planning for and knowing kind of what work needs to be done and some general plan for getting it done once all of this ends. What we would rather not see is somebody writing in saying, COVID, you're not going to get something from me until sometime later. A little bit more thought, a little bit more planning going into it. And what we also don't want to see is people just dropping off the table and not sending us anything, not letting us know that the deadlines are being missed, not kind of tying it to COVID in this, and just viewing this as an opportunity to not do work. So there is some expectation of documentation and explanation and some forward planning going into the future. So with that, we have gotten some questions already from this process coming into bwsc.information@mass.gov. And I would stress that that's the best place, the best way to send us questions and get answers. And then those questions will go to a Q&A, and that Q&A will be posted on the website that I just showed you right under the guidance. And we'll keep updating that Q&A as time goes on. So some questions that we have gotten so far that we plan on putting up answers in the near future has to do with remedial additives, for instance. The guidance that we have put up indicates that we are, our staff are looking at immediate response actions and keeping up on reviewing the IRA plans. And as such, people can count on the either written response or a 21-day presumptive approval that's associated with those plans. The question came up that there's also a requirement for DEP approval, including a 30-day presumptive approval for remedial additives applied near sensitive receptors. And we do plan on reviewing those submittals and taking a look at them. And we would also consider that 30-day presumptive approval to be applicable. What we would also note with this is because of the difficulties in communication, that it would be worthwhile to flag it with a separate email to either staff that you know are working on the site or the applicable regional DRD, just to let them know that it's being submitted through EDEP and that it's something that should be looked at. For those, because this is work that may be time critical, it may continue to go on, we do want to make sure that the systems are in place to make sure that that happens. There's another question about recording AULs, which in the 30-day notice to record interest holders, we'll have a more detailed response to that. But in the general case, I think where there are requirements for notification and communication, while there may be some difficulties in that it may be a little bit slower, I think the opportunities are here for people to make those communications. So we'll address that. And what's another good one? RAM fees. Somebody asked the question of whether if they were going to implement a RAM tomorrow, is there anybody in Boston or the regional offices there to accept the checks? And assuming that the answer is no, what are the options for starting a RAM ASAP? And the answer to that is that you send it to the lockbox, PO Box 4062, Boston, Mass. And all that's actually required is certification of the payment as shown in the transmittal form. So checks should definitely not be hand delivered to an office because there will not be anybody there to accept it. Send it to the lockbox, certify the payment on the form, and never, ever scan and attach a copy of the check to the submittal. Because as you know, that's a public record that goes up on EDEP, and we don't want copies of your checks on EDEP. It's sufficient to send it in and check the box for certification of payment. So those are the types of questions that we've been getting through bwsc.information@mass.gov. And we expect written responses to those to go out both directly to the people asking the questions, and then a version of those questions and answers to be posted on the website. So that was what we've been doing. I'd like to open it up to all of you. You would need to unmute yourself, and you have that power. I hope you have that power. You should have that power. And ask any questions or relate any experiences that you have that you want to point out that might be interesting to the kind of group as a whole working on waste sites. This is weirdly quiet. Liz, can you say something just so I know my sound is working?
I'm here.
All right, I can hear that. So is there anything else anybody want to talk about?
On the Superfund side of things, some projects are moving forward, such as New Bedford is continuing to work as normal.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it really is kind of on a case-by-case basis, I think, on what can be put off and what really needs to be done now. So anybody else in kind of on the private sector side, how are you making the choices between what projects, what aspects of the projects are moving forward and what aren't? We're doing that on our side in the public sector. It would be interesting to hear kind of how you're weighing those decisions. Remember, you're muted. You have the power to unmute yourself. That would be in the lower left-hand corner where the little microphone is. Huh. Are you all hearing me? Cole, how are you doing? No. Okay. Marilyn Wade, are you there? Things doing well? Boy, I can hear but no audio.
Okay, Paul, I'll bite.
Okay, Michael Croden, there we go.
You know, the things a lot of the work that we're continuing is either going to be safety based or client driven. I mean, if we can go out with one person to do gauging or bailing of wells, things that don't involve a lot of contact with others, we'll go out and we'll do that. However, if you know, drilling might be case by case basis, depending on how many people are at the site and how clients feel about it, and whether we feel we can safely distance ourselves from the others of the project. So it's really, it's a case by case basis. I haven't really seen a pattern yet as to what constitutes work that we'll do and work we won't do.
Mm-hmm. So what proportion would you say is still going forward versus being put off?
The majority of the work is being put off, I would say. I couldn't give you a percentage, but it's a lot of waiting at the moment.
Yeah. Well, I would imagine that, you know, with construction shut down in Boston, that probably takes out a lot of some people's work.
Yes, including ours. That's right.
Yeah. Anybody else want to talk about their experience? Okay, well, this is oddly quiet and distancing. No other questions about anything? No. Okay then. Well, we'll do this again next week. Hopefully we'll. I'm glad we didn't get Zoom bombed, and I think we'll kind of tweak our abilities here and play with the security options that Zoom keeps adding to address the Zoom bombing issue. And we'll see and talk with you again next week. Any questions you have, go to bwsc.information@mass.gov and we'll get back to you. And hope all is going well. Stay safe. Have some coffee.